We're looking at fossil tourism. As I mentioned to you before the break, something like ecotourism, but all about fossils. And we have so many sites all around South Africa where we have museums to show and educate tourists about our wonderfully rich fossil record. We spoke before the break about Marupeng and Sterkfontein, and we also know that at other places such as Taung and Makapansgat up near Polokwane, we have more human ancestor fossils which have been discovered, and they're also the sites for people to learn more about these fossils. The remains of human ancestors have also been known to come from sites at Florisbad in the Free State and Blombos Cave in the Western Cape. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the Blombos Cave in the Western Cape because this particular site offers us such a wealth of knowledge about our beginnings of cultural evolution. But there are lots of other exciting ventures and venues that tourists interested in fossils can visit. You can see fossils in the ground as well as on display in museums. Scientists have made models of, if you can't quite picture what the animal or the plant looked like from the fossil, models help you to visualize what these ancient organisms looked like. The Kitching Fossil Centre in New Bethesda protects mammal ancestors and early reptiles from the Permian period that lived in the Karoo. Golden Gate National Park has a museum that particularly focuses on Mesozoic fossils of dinosaurs that lived about 190 million years ago. The West Coast Fossil Park, it's about 150 kilometers north of Cape Town, protects late Cenozoic fossils from about 5.2 million years ago. And here you can see fossils such as saber-toothed cats, large hunting hyenas, and short-necked giraffes. Many museums in different cities across South Africa have excellent collections of fossils. If you live in any of these centres, why don't you ask your teacher to organise an outing where you can go and see some of these museums? For example, the Ditsong Museum, it was formerly the Transvaal Museum of Natural History in Pretoria, the National Museum in Bloemfontein, the Ezeku South African Museum in Cape Town, and the Pietermaritzburg Museum are just a couple of examples of museums that have wonderful exhibits and displays showing the fossils as well as models of what the organism would have looked like. Many people think that we should encourage fossil tourism in South Africa. What is fossil tourism? Let's make it very clear that we understand what we're talking about here. You can't just say fossil tourism is ecotourism. You need to be able to show what we mean by it and how what it focuses on. So, fossil tourism is the number one viewing of fossils and models and dig sites, archaeological and paleontological dig sites, so that the public is educated as well as being able to see fossils, not only in museums behind glass, but actually see them in the ground and being excavated. But fossil tourism doesn't only allow visitors to see the fossils and to be educated about them. Remember that the proceeds from this kind of tourism goes back into the preservation of the fossils, which is a very expensive process, and also into the local community. Would you be able to answer a question like this in an exam? Describe possible advantages of fossil tourism. I think you can see that the advantages are that people understand more about fossils, and if they do, they're likely to take greater care of them. It's quite sad to know that so many fossil sites have been vandalized by people who don't understand the value of what they're looking at. They don't understand that fossils cannot be made today. We can't recreate things that were formed millions and millions of years ago. If a fossil is stolen or damaged or vandalized in some way, it's gone forever. So we've got the opportunity to educate people about the value of fossil tourism. And of course, if the tourists are visiting, they're bringing money, which can be used once again to develop the further scientific investigation into these fossils and protection of the fossil site, but also the money can go into the local community. A disadvantage of fossil tourism? Well, in the same way that you might be bringing people to fossil sites to educate them, you could be opening up fossil sites for vandalization and for destruction by irresponsible people. Let's speak more about the idea of where you came from as a species after the break when we look at the out of Africa hypothesis.